Christian Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents You Bet Your Stretch Marks, Finding Beauty and Worth in the Ways Motherhood Marks Our Bodies and Souls, by Abbie Halberstadt. Narrated by Abbie Halberstadt. Dedication. To Jennifer. You are the gone-before mama friend of every girl's dreams. Your grammar expertise, your enthusiasm and encouragement, your level-headed good sense, I cherish them all. Introduction.
Can you tell your children not to shout?
The angry, decidedly French voice cut through the squawks and shrieks of our 2.5-year-old twin boys, halting my husband Sean and me mid-toy grab. It was hour 25 of a bleary-eyed 30-hour travel day with 10 children in tow, and Titus and Toby were done. Done with snacks, done with gadgets, done with shows, done. I was much too frazzled to notice the similarity at the time, but recalling that Eurostar ride now brings to mind a scene from an episode of Gilmore Girls, a series that I cannot recommend wholesale but whose machine gun dialogue often made me grin. In it, Luke, the crotchety diner owner, tells his longtime crush Lorelai that the toy a frantic father is waggling in his child's face won't achieve the desired result because Choo Choo Joe is dead. That's what it felt like in that moment of intense effort to entertain two little boys who had long since surpassed the limits of their ability to be cooperative human beings. Toys were dead to them. And despite Sean's and my best impression of some strange two-headed octopus parent, we for sure were using our hands and feet, the exhaustion was winning. But our French train companion was not the least bit interested in how long we'd been traveling, or in our obvious ongoing efforts to distract and quiet the Twinbies, our affectionate nickname for our twin boys that distinguishes them from their twin sisters whom we call the Twinsies, or in the fact that our other 8 children were doing excellent impressions of considerate humans. She was interested in silence. Frankly, Sean and I were too tired and a bit too stunned by her sudden interjection to come up with, well, anything. We stared at each other in bemusement, a writhing, protesting toddler in each lap, wondering if she expected an actual response. We quickly found out that she did when, hands glued to hips, she shouted, yes, shouted, "You do not care?" Sean smiled wanly, and assuring her we cared very much, scooped up Toby and swayed down the aisle toward the dining cart. I stayed with Titus and the rest of our children, bouncing, shushing, and distracting him, a slightly easier feat without his brother there to pull his hair or take his coloring book. Perhaps some of you are feeling a bit indignant with our French friend. I'll admit I was. Perhaps some of you are annoyed at us. She certainly was. Perhaps there are even more of you wondering what exactly in the literal wide world could have tempted us to brave so many hours on so many planes, trains, and automobiles with so many children. What could possibly make such an ordeal worth it? The answer? A 45-day trip to Europe we had been planning for 4 years by the time it finally came to fruition. A trip that had already been canceled once by COVID-19. If you've read M's for Mama, you'll recall that sad tale. In other words, we were gritting our teeth through a very challenging short-term ordeal to be able to partake in a long-awaited adventure. As it so happened, it ended up being an experience that far surpassed even our wildest imaginings in the levels of joy, wonder, discovery, and, yes, difficulty we encountered. When all was said and done, it was more than worth it. It was an experience of a lifetime for our whole family. But in that exact moment of angst and loopy fatigue on the train, it would have been easy to assume we'd made a mistake, to measure the rest of the trip by the reading on our current stressometer, which was surely at the "too much, dummy, turn back" mark. Except we couldn't turn back. We had spent the previous 9 months researching, packing, praying, and planning to get to this very moment. We were all in, and retreat was no longer an option. Anybody else think this sounds a bit like the entire all-in enterprise we call parenting? We spend 9 months feverishly researching, packing the birthing bag, praying, and planning to get to that moment when we finally make euphoric eye contact for the first time with the slippery soul we've been watching turn our bellies into an alien landscape of fleshy hills and valleys for so long. And we know, in that moment of exhausted bliss, we are all in, and retreat is no longer an option. Truly, from
Sample complete. Ready to continue?